you know, I hear a lot of people too nowadays. They talk about they want to go to the past, right? They want to go to like, well, you had it easier, or they'll say, you know, well, you guys didn't have to worry about the internet, or you guys didn't have this, right? You guys didn't have this, and they think that the era, like my mom's era, was probably I'm guessing the 70s. 80s, right?
Yeah.
And then before that was her parents, and then before that
we were 80s, 90s.
I was 90s, 2000,
Yeah.
I guess, you know what I mean?
83.
And like we had it differently, or we had it better, right? We always say, like, as far as being like millennials, like you guys have it better, the younger generation, because you guys have the internet. But also, you know, any era is gonna always have problems.
Here's another thing too. We never had access to information like we do now.
We do, but
my parents did not have that.
That could be a good thing, a bad thing, right? That you could take them.
Well, that's
pros and cons.
It could be a good thing because we know more, right?
It could be a good
What's
and
the
bad
thing.
The bad thing would be like that now information comes from everywhere. Comes from the wrong
You never
people.
know where you're getting the information.
Flat Earth.
It could be wrong
right?
information.
Flat Earth has millions of subscribers on it. That's the wrong information.
Yeah.
Right? And if you want to argue with that, then you got to find the Neil deGrasse Tyson something. I'm not going to argue with you.
Don't argue with me.
But then they got people that are giving out success advice too. Right?
Yeah.
Success. What used to be in a book that you would read, or maybe, and everybody, now it's on the internet fully live.
You can
it's not information can be misconstrued. Right? It could be misconstrued. They can use it against you, right? It could be.
Maybe
it's too accessible. Maybe too easy.
I think we're smarter than the generations before us.
Because you're talking about
so much access.
the generation now, not us.
Our generation.
You don't think the new generation is smarter than us, though?
Yeah. Well, I'm old.
So you think they're smarter than us?
I think they're book smarter, but not street smarter, or they don't know more about like life.
That's what I'm saying. It could be pros. It could be a little bit of both.
But I think we're smarter than the generation before us. They didn't have any
See,
access to anything.
You know what I read?
We're middle children.
No,
look at this. Hold on. We're middle children of it, right? Because we came in the wave of the internet, the wave of barely any libraries, barely any bookstores, right? We came in the mid wave, so we get what the new generation gets, and we get what the old generation
But you
gets
gotta
at the
listen
same
to this.
time.
I was just listening to a Thomas Sowell book about knowledge, right? He says he was talking about generational errors, right? He was like, the person who we'll say back to tribal type of thing, right? The person that had to do all those things in their tribe, right? We say that they don't have the knowledge or the wisdom that we have, right? Because we know more. But all the things that he was trying to explain, like that was just their era, but not to say they weren't knowledgeable or they didn't have wisdom. They had wisdom because they could feed their whole tribe. They kept their whole tribe alive. That's the only reason why we're here. Is they did that, right? It's just because we got more in tune to technology and what's going on. They didn't have to know what gravity was, but they knew that if you dropped the rock from the air, that it would hit the ground. Right? They knew that they had to shoot the arrow.
They're the ones who came up with the clock.
They knew they had to shoot the arrow. They knew when the sun went down, when the sun was going to go down. They knew these things. We just make them more like easily to understand, and our mind.
Comprehensive.
But to say they weren't knowledgeable at that time, like when they were building the car. To build the car was something they didn't have anything to do, right? So
they made
obviously
it out of nothing.
They came out of nothing and made it. So they
Planes.
That's why I was saying about the era thing is crazy.
Lift, drag. Yeah.
People fly now and don't even know how that happens, right? So when they say that we're more, that's why I was kind of pushing back against, because when I heard him say that, I'm like, damn, you know what? That makes sense, because like if I take you, right, and the internet kid, and I put you into their time, you'll be dead.
It doesn't. You can't survive.
Right? If I take you back to 1700, put you there on the farm, and say go feed yourself, you'll be dead. Why?
You're in survival.
You're smart. You're smarter than everybody else. You got more knowledge. You got the internet.
You don't know how things
Use
work.
it in 1700 now. You can't. Right? But that guy can live. If I put that guy and put him in the forest over here, he'll live. If I put him on the farm, he'll live.
It reminds me of have you ever seen the show Yellowstone yet?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
When you see, it's kind of like that. Like he's old country kind of guy, and he's trying to explain exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, but
he's like, dude, my family's family built all what you got.
Yeah.
And you're trying to take it from me?
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Trying to take it from me.
But when he said that to me, I was thinking, it really made me think of. I'm gonna watch it. I heard about it too. Somebody else told me, Kevin Costner.
That's
good.
But there's other things. No, it's Kevin Costner, and then there's 1948, and then there's a bunch of 4 shows that are his grandparents. So each show is about that same thing. Yeah.
Well,
it's cool.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So
reminds me of that. Yeah.
So,
generational. You couldn't survive.
You saying they were of their era. They were very knowledgeable.
Go ahead and fight a woolly mammoth. Tell me you're gonna win.
or like living living like the ice age. Like you wouldn't even know what to do. The first thing you do, how are you gonna sharpen a bone to make it into a knife?
Simplify
They knew
things.
these things, right? And they were knowledgeable about those things in their era.
Yeah, but when I was talking about era,
We just know about all the things that they've
when I was
done.
talking about era but then again, I don't agree. Like when I was complaining about it, I was talking about like medicine. I was talking about
Oh, yeah, people
bills,
died, but
how
they had to create
we
the
never
medicine.
they never had COVID in my family's era.
But they had
so
the Black
COVID,
Plague.
but they had they had different
malaria.
things. Yeah.
They had pertussis, tuberculosis.
Tuberculosis. It was
Kills
huge,
millions way more than COVID.
Huge, dude, huge.
Yeah, like those
But they
things
didn't.
kill
But
more
the
than
government
COVID.
didn't shut the country down.
That's a specific
newbie.
thing.
That's a new thing.
But we did have like a depression where people couldn't eat.
Right. But the government.
That's not
didn't
the
shut
same
the
as like a
country
sick.
down.
Well, the country shut itself down in the depression, right? We had to sit in lines to get food. People had to sit in the 30s.
Like rations and shit.
So, you know what I mean? But what I'm saying is we all had shit going on. Like they had wars.
Yeah,
Right? We had wars
didn't
where
have
we
any-
had
yeah.
sending people out to war and people come back
Afghanistan,
dying.
bro.
We
Yeah.
had little bitty wars.
Yeah,
they had
but
big
they had
wars
big
with the
wars.
whole
World
country.
wars, bro.
But the whole country had to go to war, right? You had to get drafted, right? Drafted.
Somebody was mentioning this. I thought it was a really good point to bring up on the podcast. So I was kind of like off subject, but they were talking about he was talking about men, and he goes, it's happening in real time. He goes, if women just backed up and took a look at it for a second, and men sat back. He goes, in the Ukraine,
Oh yeah, I was watching
women
the same
and
video.
them they could leave.
Who was that though?
They could leave and they can go to a base and get away from there. Then men can't leave.
That was the
have
guy.
To stay,
That was the guy
and they
from
have to
whatever.
fight.
Yeah, yeah.
They have no
Yeah, yeah.
choice but to
Yeah.
fight the war.
Yeah,
and
they
that just
couldn't
goes to
leave.
show
they
you
could have
why.
went to he was saying the countries. He said they could have went to
And
Bulgaria.
the girls had nothing to say. They were
Yeah.
like,
He said they could have went to Bulgaria. They could have went to this place. They could have went
women
to
and
that.
children can go. Men have no
Have to
choice.
stay.
You have to stay. If you don't stay,
And
you're
that's,
gonna get
that's
killed.
the difference. That is a difference. That's why we talk about with the masculinity thing too.
But we're still in the what I could tell you in our 20s.
Yeah, so
is that even complaining about the eras, it doesn't make sense
not gonna get you
because
that far.
it's not going to get you that far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just know that when somebody was successful in any era, they worked extra hard. They woke up early.
did the same shit.
Because that's what all the success books are from. Like not Dale Carnegie. The guy thinking Napoleon Hill, the one that's on Think and Grow
Think
Rich.
and Grow Rich.
He followed millionaires and billionaires from his era, before his era, and that he followed them, talked to them,
Something
interviewed
you
them.
can
All
learn.
that.
You can learn
They
a lot.
all had something in common, right? They all did certain things. That's why he wrote the book, and he specified the book in the way he did it because he learned from them, and they were all similar, right?
Yeah.
They were all similar, no matter what era, no matter if they was in oil, steel, if they was in building cars or whatever it was, they all had similar things. So you could learn from every era,
Yeah.
but it's all about
That's
work.
what I would tell me.
Purpose.
That's what I would tell the
Yeah.
20s me is learn from every era. Because
Yeah.
every era had a struggle. Every
Every
era had
era
a
did.
crazy invention that's new.
Always crazy.
Every era had
Yeah.
and then
They
sometimes you'll see things.
think
that
about this right now.
learn from history. dude.
Right now, when we test stuff, like people don't die, right? They're not supposed to die, right? When they're testing the airplane, right, or whatever.
People die.
Back then,
People just
there was
die.
no way around it. Like we're like, listen, I'm gonna push you in this plane. If it starts to lift off this cliff, if not, I don't know what to tell you.
They were the crash test
It was
dummies.
like
There was no crash test
there was
dummies.
no
They were the
crash
crash
test
test dummies.
They were like, you're like, oh, you're not. Damn, we lost another one, Jim.
You know what we should try? I think
We
the
lost
engine
another
needs to
one,
be
Jim.
tweaked. The engine needs to be
you
tweaked a
wanna
little
try?
bit. Yeah. Nah, I'm good. Let's try it tomorrow. I think. Yeah, like-
We need more people. We need more people.
and all,
right?
I
you
bet
want
you,
to test this
all he had to
drug?
do was just like put the just tighten the bolt a little bit more to the right.
Oh damn! Why didn't you just let it? It wouldn't. The wings didn't move
Right,
that
but
time.
people were like,
and then they're
"Nah."
like, here, let me try this malaria blood. Another one,
That
then
one
bring
didn't
another
work.
one in.
Dude, MK Ultra, these crazy things. They're testing drugs on people. They were doing crazy shit.
Like
Crack
now,
came
like
from
now
the
we have
government.
some
right?
weird
Like,
things. We could test it on mice. We
Yeah.
do like fake artificial skin. We do all sorts of shit. So
Yeah.
now we got it a little easier as far
But
as
learning
learning
from-
technology.
Yeah, learning from
But they had
our
hard- they had it hard.
predecessors, or learning from the people that came before us is the
They
way
had
to
it
go.
hard, bro.
Is the way to go. You don't always have to learn the lesson yourself.
Like think about not even knowing like when like and this is getting off subject, but think about not even knowing like when weather.
Oh yeah, you don't know.
You don't know the hurricanes
I'll
coming.
tell you, this is what I think. This is really what I think. I think that they thought they were being punished by God
The hurricane.
because a tornado came through, and they were like, "We're being punished."
Or the hurricane.
We should have never stole.
Like
yeah,
a
the hurricane.
tornado,
They have no
we
idea what
still
that is.
can't really predict the tornado.
Yeah.
A hurricane
A
is
hurricane-
like you're just sitting in the. You're like,
Those are-
damn, it's starting to get. it's looking a little rainy out there, and you're like,
it's a little stronger, like harder wind.
just go inside. And then the wind blows your windows, and you're like, oh, it's 155. You don't even know how fast the wind. So like,
they didn't even know what that was.
Tornadoes barely have wind, but they got warnings now.
They thought the gods were punishing them.
Yeah,
Thor
so it's like earthquakes. You don't even know what an earthquake is.
You don't even know what a volcano really is.
Oh my god! So like,
they have no science.
They
at
have
the
no
time.
science. So
they
did, but they just didn't know. They couldn't predict them like we. We
how are
can.
you supposed to know?
We can see the shaking. We can see like a ripple in the ground now. So, anyways, like I said, don't use that as a thing to blame either. Like your era, what
Doesn't
you're
help.
in, right? And I'm never gonna. And I'm trying not to push it on. Like you guys have technology, you guys have internet, you guys are supposed to be winning. You guys still need to be taught too, and that's the problem. I think getting into the deeper thing is we're letting kids just go off and figure it out themselves, and we think that they are smarter than we are and this and that, but we got to teach them the fundamentals and the basics. That it takes work. It takes you getting up, doing things that other people won't do. It takes you going out there and fulfilling your purpose and focusing on certain things to grow it. So, and we just let the kids go out and they go on the YouTube and they go on the internet and they find somebody to follow, and people lead them to a bad path most of the time.
It's good to it is good to find mentors early too.
Mentors too.
Find some mentors that people you
somebody
can
you
talk
look up to.
Somebody you could look up to. Be careful on who you choose as that, because it leads.
But
you
just
down the
know
wrong
too,
path.
as far as that
But
goes
it's good
too, is
to
you're
know.
not gonna find the perfect person.
No.
I don't want to get
They're not
religious
out
on
there.
you, but you're not gonna find the perfect person. Everybody's flawed. They're all gonna have their little things that but you can learn something from somebody. You're always learning. Always learn a little bit. I met a bunch of, hundreds of people, thousands, over my time, just 41 years. And there's a lot of people, I don't agree with everything they do, but they give me knowledge here and there on certain things.
Yeah.
Right? I just sent Louis a picture of something, and that guy even, showed me some things, even though he was just laying with a fish. But, yeah. But he showed me things too. I learned from him too. So,
Learn from everybody.
but it was a joke. But anyways, so
George.
Hey, he was laying with a fish.
So funny. Well, we learned a lot from him.
I learned a lot from everybody I came in interact. I try to pull the things that
Pick the brain
that I can get from people.
Understand how their brain works and why they come up.
So
with
when you're in your
decisions
20s, especially maybe your teens, you need to do that. You need to focus on what
money doesn't buy you happiness.
Money don't buy you happiness.
You're your only competition.
You
can't lead a horse to water.
So don't
You
try
can't
to help everybody, right?
Victim mentality.
Get rid of it.
You don't need it.
Don't chase the cat. That's probably was number
That's
one.
number one.
I agree, because that's
It's
men,
a waste of time.
hormones.
You're gonna make bad decisions, really. That's a way.
And don't blame it on when you were born,
What
how you were
area
born,
you were
what era you were born
Yeah.
in. All right.
It just is what it is.
Real Talk with Mo.
What? Real Mo podcast, but Real Talk with Mo. If you want to go watch that too, it's good
Real
to
Mo
go
podcast.
there.
My bad. I'm gonna
We're building
erase
a
that.
brand. We're building brands.
I'm gonna
here,
erase that.
guys.